I remember sifting through those online listings, hot, humid summer after graduation. Felt like everyone else had their future all mapped out, or at least a decent paying gig to burn off some steam. Me? I was just trying to avoid another summer flipping burgers. Warehouse work. Retail. The usual grind. Then, tucked between an ad for a landscaping crew and some data entry temp gig, I saw it. Last Contact Trainee. Sounded professional. Like a funeral home maybe. Or a morgue. Something morbid. But hey, high school wasn't exactly preparing me for glamour. The pay though, that's what really snagged me. Insane. Like, truly ridiculous for an entry-level position. Plus a sign-on bonus that made my eyes water. Willingness to work with the recently deceased, it said. Okay, morbid. But if it paid like that, I could stomach a lot for that kind of money. My phone felt heavy in my hand as I dialed the number. It rang for a long time. Just a low, buzzing static before a voice, flat and tired, answered. Barely a conversation. Yes, we received your inquiry. Nothing about what they were. Just a promise for a callback. I hung up feeling a little stupid, honestly. Figured it was a prank, some sick joke. Nobody pays that kind of money for whatever that was. 3 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. The same flat voice. Mr. Peterson, your application for Last Contact has been approved. Your training begins Monday night. Midnight. At the call center. Call center? My stomach dropped a little. What kind of funeral home had a call center? Monday night. The address led me to this industrial part of town, down by the old train tracks. All brick and rust and shadows. Not a single other car. Just my beat-up sedan under a sickly yellow street lamp. The building itself looked dead, like it had forgotten its purpose decades ago. Windows boarded up, or just too grimy to see through. One plain metal door, barely lit by a single, caged bulb. My gut screamed at me to just turn around, to drive home and forget the whole insane thing. But that sign-on bonus, that pay, it felt like a magnet pulling me forward. I hesitated, probably for 5 full minutes, just staring at that door. The air felt heavy, like before a storm, even though the sky was clear. I knocked. The sound was swallowed, didn't echo. The door creaked open a moment later. A man stood there. Middle-aged, thinning hair, glasses that looked smudged even from a distance. His face was just gray, like all the color had been drained out. You must be the new recruit, he said, his voice as flat as the one on the phone. He didn't smile, didn't offer a hand, just turned and walked into the darkness. I followed, feeling like I was stepping into a dream I couldn't wake from. Inside, it was worse. A narrow hallway, concrete walls, stained and damp. The air was cold, smelled of dust, and something metallic. He led me to a small, isolated room. No windows. Just a dusty metal desk, an ancient computer, a rotary phone, and an old office chair. And a fluorescent light above, flickering with a greenish-yellow glow that made everything look sickly. It hummed. A low, persistent drone that vibrated in my teeth. This was it. This was my workspace. He led me to an equally dilapidated break room then, if you could even call it that. Just a bigger empty room with a stained coffee machine and a couple of mismatched plastic chairs. No windows here either. He didn't offer me a drink. Just laid a thick stack of papers on the table. The contract, he said. My stomach twisted. I picked it up. My eyes scanned the first page, then the second. My breath caught in my throat. 5 years. A minimum 5-year commitment. With an option to extend for another 5, with a raise. 5 years. That's not a summer job. That's half a decade. Or a whole one. My hand shook as I signed, the pen feeling alien, heavy. There was no real choice. Not with the money. Not with the way my car had sputtered on the way here. Not with the shame of going home empty-handed. He watched me, his gray eyes. Unblinking. Right? He said, once the signature was dry. Now the job. He leaned forward a little, and for the first time, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Something like profound weariness. Last contact. It's a service. For those who die unexpectedly. I nodded, bracing for the funeral home details. We give them one final phone call. Before their souls pass on. The words felt wrong. Too casual. Too precise. It's threefold. He continued, oblivious to the growing chill in my chest. Comfort. Clarity. Information. The dead are often confused. We help them process. We gather crucial details, passwords, codes, assets, things the living need. And we prevent uncontacted spirits from becoming violent. Violent. My mind reeled. Not a funeral home. Not a morgue. This was something else. Something far, far older and colder. He led me back to that small, humming room. The air felt charged now, thick with an unseen weight. He sat in the chair, gestured to the phone. "Watch," he said, his voice barely a whisper. Near midnight, the silence pressed in, broken only by the sickly hum of the fluorescent light. Then the phone rang. A single, jarring trill that ripped through the quiet. He picked it up, put it on speaker. The voice on the other end was choked, disoriented. "Hello? Where am I?" The trainer's voice, calm, empty of all human warmth, cut through the static. "You've died, Mike. My name is Chris. This is your last contact." Mike. The voice on the line. It was full of such raw, searing grief. No, this can't be. My wife, my kids. Tell them I love them, please." My heart hammered. Tell him? My mouth was dry, but the trainer didn't flinch. "Mike, we need your banking details. Any safe combinations? Cryptographic keys?" He rattled off questions, cold and efficient, ignoring Mike's pleas, his desperate sobs. It was like listening to a machine interrogate a ghost. Exactly 60 seconds later, mid-sentence, the call cut out. "Just gone." The dial tone buzzed, then silence. He hung up. 60 seconds, he said, turning to me, his face impassive. "No more. And we never relay personal messages. We extract what's needed. Nothing else." I swallowed, my throat tight. "Chris." I managed, the pseudonym sounding alien. "Why Chris?" He just stared at the wall for a long moment. "The incident last year," he mumbled. "Different name now." He didn't elaborate, just told me to create a file. Name. Call time. Information gathered. He warned me. Not all calls are as straightforward. The fluorescent light flickered, casting long, shifting shadows. Hours passed. I sat there, trying to process, trying to breathe. My eyes were heavy. Just as I started to drift, the phone rang again. This time, it wasn't a sudden, jarring ring. It was a slow, insistent thrum that resonated not from the phone, but from everywhere. The humming of the fluorescent light intensified, vibrating in my teeth, my skull. The walls seemed to breathe. The air tasted of ozone and something metallic, like old blood and rust. I looked at the trainer. He was just staring at the phone, his face gray, his eyes wide and unfocused. His mouth hung slightly open, a silent scream caught in his throat. He looked like a man who had seen too many horizons, too many impossible truths. The phone vibrated across the desk, not ringing, just alive. I reached for it, my hand shaking, and his hand shot out, clamping down on my wrist. His grip was surprisingly strong, cold as stone. "Don't," he whispered, his voice hoarse, ragged. "Not this one. Not yet." The thrum intensified. It wasn't just a sound. It was a pressure, a vast, ancient presence filling the room, pushing against the very fabric of my mind. I could feel things on the other end of that phone line. Not souls. Something else. Something immense and indifferent, not dead, not alive, simply is. It was waiting, watching. The trainer's eyes, fixed on the phone, were glistening with a terrible, silent knowledge. He wasn't afraid of the dead. He was afraid of what used them. My own breath hitched. The air shimmered. The green-yellow light seemed to bend around me. I understood then. The information wasn't for the living. It was for it. For the thing that granted the calls, that harvested these final echoes. We weren't helping the dead. We were feeding something that had no name. The trainer released my wrist. His fingers twitched, as if ready to reach for the phone, to perform his duty for this unknowable master. He just stared at the vibrating receiver, his lips moving silently, forming words I couldn't hear. His gaze was fixed on the instrument, but his eyes were seeing something far, far beyond the grimy walls of that industrial building. He muttered, almost to himself, the hum now deafening, vibrating deep in my bones. "It's learned to listen now, to everything."